What's up, YouTube? Today, getting in that honey pot. Stick around. You're watching Home Health and Hobby. Hey folks, Chef Nicholas J here. Today, the end of October. Today's the 30th of October here in Central Florida. I say that for zoning reference so that everyone can know what I'm doing at what time of the year, so that you can use that as reference for anything you might learn in your beekeeping endeavors. Beekeeping in the south is definitely going to be different than beekeeping in the north, so I try to give all that information so that it's relevant to you. The girls have been working hard for quite a while. I haven't harvested any honey. This will be a fall harvest for me. Usually you can get 2 harvests out of the year on a good year. This marks just a month, probably 13 months into my beekeeping hobby. I have learned a lot, but this video is about honey extraction. While I'm looking in the hives to see how much honey we've got to extract, I try to do a weekly hive inspection. Over the past 3 weeks, things have gotten a little bit out of hand for me, and I haven't been able to get into the hives to see what they're doing. One of my friends over in Geneva, Florida, said that she found, she showed on her Instagram that there have been some swarm cells that she had to deal with just a week ago. At any rate, I'm going to get in there to see what's going on with these girls, see if they've started to prepare to swarm. I have a swarm trap close by. I have 2 on my property, so that if I don't catch them before they swarm, there will be a likely chance that they'll look to find a place, and hopefully it'll be in my swarm trap. At any rate, this is another entry into my beekeeping diary, so it's something that it's going to be conversational. I'm not really following a script or anything. I am just going to let you see it as it happens, and I'll try to get everything that I see on camera. So if I miss something, it's because I'm focused on the bees, and I'll try to talk out loud to what I see, and I'll try to stay on track as to my thought process that I'm going through. Let's get into the hives. Alright, so 3 things that I like to have in my hands during a hive inspection is my hive tool, my smoker, and a queen clip, so that if I see the queen and I want to do something with the hive, I can have her safe and she's not at risk of being crushed. I can maneuver on the hive, not worrying about that. I've continually tried to be gentle with my hives. That's one of the life lessons that I've learned from beekeeping, is gentleness. Excuse me. One thing I wanted to say about my smoker is that it's smoky. No, not that. It's that the smoker fuel that a lot of people use are pine needles, but I don't have any pine trees around me. I use the smoker pellets that you can buy at the big box home store. I get I think it's a 40-pound bag for $9 or $10. They're selling heater pellets for northern heating stoves at the closest beekeeping supply store for, I think, $7 or $8 for a quart-sized Ziploc bag of those smoker pellets. I've had great success with these hickory wood smoker pellets that are designed for barbecuing. Anyway, let's get in here. I'm going to introduce myself to them with a puff of smoke at the bottom. I'm going to hit them with some smoke. I'm going to crack the lid here, hit them with some smoke, and then let them know that I'm there as well. Let the smoke waft into the hive for 30 seconds, a minute, and then I'll get in there and then I'll start working. Got some hive beetles running around here. If interested in hive beetles, Dr. Jamie Ellis of the University of Florida did his doctorates in South Africa. on the hive, small hive beetle. He's very knowledgeable on that, but he's also extremely knowledgeable in all things beekeeping, and can get you into contact with some people that you're interested in asking questions about if you're interested in taking beekeeping from a scientific approach. Alright, so I think that's a good amount of time. So these smaller boxes are there's no rule that you have to use these smaller boxes for honey. Ooh wee! That is golden. It's packed wall to wall. I hope that that's not a sign that they're honey bound. They say that these frames are 45 pounds each, but I think they're a little bit more than that when they're full. Wall to wall. Alright, so we got to get these girls some room. So that's wall to wall as well, but they've not gone wall to wall on this either. These girls definitely need me to take a cut of their efforts for their protection. I'm just kidding. They don't need my protection, but they're not against my help either. If you have honey frames that aren't being built out with wax and they're on the outside and you see them moving up into the next super or whatever your organization is, do what I just did by moving the outside frame and the inside, and then they'll start working on that, drawing up honey. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the hives, the supers from the hive, and put it on this one over here. But I'll make that decision as soon as I'm in this hive to see how much they've built it out. I'm pretty sure they've built out a good amount in this next hive over. It is this time of year that the honeybees are going to start performing their abortions in the hive, which means quite literally they're doing abortions. They're pulling out brood and larvae from the capped brood and reducing their numbers so that they can survive through winter. Yeah, I would not be surprised if I see any swarm cells in here, which means we may need to do a split, but again, I'm thinking out loud here. I'm not saying that we would need to. It's just coming into my second year beekeeping, so I'm thinking that's what I would do. I do not have a mentor, an official mentor. I go to the local beekeeping meetings to ask questions and just, be around people. I'm working from the behind of the beehive and on the sides. I do not stand in front of the hives. Remember that. Yeah, these girls are close to honey bound. Alright, so if we do see a split or a lot of swarm cells in here, what I want to do is I want to get the queen and a bunch of the nurse bees in the hive into a nuke box. That's a small 5-frame hive that doesn't have a lot of space for them to have to guard and stretch themselves thin. Dag nabbit. That's why I use tight bond. The girls are pretty gentle today. On hot days when there's no water around, or if there's a nectar dearth, they get pretty aggressive with you when you come near the hive. All right, so there are eggs in here, which means we're queen right within the last 3 days. So we got a small little queen cup there, but it's not capped, it's right there. Again, I say this in a lot of my videos, no more than 5 minutes attempted time in a hive. I got a good amount of bee bread in there. Now, in hindsight, everything in this hive, the most important thing to me, oh look, there's a queen. She's right there. I don't need to watch her, but, see her on the side of the frame there? She's all buried in there. Alright, I'm happy with what I see in here, so I'm not going to mess around in the hive anymore. I do need to get this frame right here on the left-hand side of what you are seeing, repaired, because the sidebar just came out of the top bar on this frame, and that's just going to get filled in with propolis wax. Just going to make a mess. I'm going to shake off all the bees, and I'm going to go do a quick repair with some Brad's point nails. See, that came off right there. Type Bond 3, when cured, is waterproof and non-toxic. Alright, so just really quickly what I did was I put in some nails on the side of the sidebar here on each portion. You can't see, that's propolized. Right there and right there to sort of give a physical lock on the repair. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the honey supers and I'm going to put it on this hive next door, so that this is a newer colony, they're going to have some fuel, some reserves, some food stores for the winter. And I'm not going to extract that because I don't need to right now. I'm not getting greedy. I have right here a box into which I'm going to put the honey that I'm going to extract, so that I can transport it. So beautiful. I can remember when I was a kid, younger, how cool I thought it was to be a beekeeper. And I think I still find romance in this. Harvesting honey, I don't know what it was, it's just romantic. Now there's some drawbacks here. There's some things that we can do that we can make a decision, that we need to make a decision here on, and that's whether or not to harvest all the honey, which I'm not going to do, or I'm going to leave that. I want it all to be capped over. Harvest all the honey and feed them through the winter, or leave them honey so that they have proper nutrition. That's what I think is the most important, is giving your bees proper nutrition. Just like us. They will take sugar syrup or corn syrup as feed, but it has no nutrition to it. It's just a source of carbohydrates for them. I'm not worried about getting all the bees off of this. I'm going to be extracting in my garage, and I'm okay with a few bees buzzing around in there. But there are some repellents that you can lay on top of a honey super, and it will drive the bees down and get them all off. There's also a bee escape to which the bees can exit, but they cannot enter back into a honey super. It's just extra money. If you've got it and you want to do that, go right on ahead, but I'm trying to make money, not spend it on this hobby. I want the hobby to pay for itself. So those are some options for you. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to get in and extract this. I'm going to show you the method I choose to use this time. It's not the only method. But I want to get these emptied out so that I can, one, have honey, and two, give them more space so they can start loading this up with honey. Because all 4 of those honey supers are full. One of which I'm going to keep on that hive. Another I'm going to put over on another hive that has no honey reserves, except for what they put into their hive body. And yeah, let's get into the garage. Let's go do this. All right, so here we are in the garage. We are going to install a honey gate onto the vessel that all of this is going to be collected into. Biologically speaking, when it comes to sanitization of your equipment, I'm coming from a homebrew background, and okay, so biologically speaking, the only thing that kills any sort of biological activity is bleach. Alcohol does a good job, but bleach is 100% effective. Now, the reason I'm sanitizing this is because we're dealing with sugar and honey, which is used to make mead. And this barrel here has been used to make homebrew, which has had yeast in it. Yeast feed off of sugar. So it's important that if you're using, in any context, any kind of equipment, that it's clean, food safe, but especially if you're using a homebrew bucket, if you're into that hobby, or if you're thinking about doing it as well. So let's go ahead and install this honey gate. This is one that I've had laying around. I think I paid between $8 to $11. It's an Italian-made, pretty high-quality one. My only concern is that the diameter will be a little bit too wide for the curvature of this bucket to get a good seal around the gasket. But, you know, that's all part of the excitement, all part of the fun, and you guys get to watch it happen as I do it right here, right now. Alright, so this is the diameter that we're looking for. It's gotta be... Alright, so it looks like it's 2 inches. 2 inches it is. It is slightly bigger than the diameter of the nipple here. Let's just go for it. I'm a big fan of using what you got instead of buying new stuff unless absolutely necessary. Although it is nice to have really new things that are shiny and pretty and new car smell. We also have to account for the lip in here as well. So it looks like we're gonna have to go let's just call it right there. Get this all cleaned up so that it doesn't get in the honey. So we have a good seal. I'm speaking off to the side of the shotgun microphone. So it's got a good seal, it seems. A good distance from the top of the bottom portion here. So we'll just open it, and out flows the honey. Alright, now that we've gotten it installed, and we've gone over just some thoughts on that installation, we're going to be using this heat gun. This is a Harbor Freight heat gun, but and it was $8. It gets really hot. I think it gets over 1200 degrees. Anyways, this is going to uncap the honey. That's at least what my research has shown to indicate. But we're going to get these uncapped, and then we're going to put them into the extractor as we uncap them. Yeah, that's pretty hot. So it looks like I'm going to be using a knife instead, because this is just, it's not doing what I saw other people doing on their honey extraction videos, and this is going to make a huge mess. As you can see, it's starting to drip. I'm going to go get a food safe container to contain my mess. Alright, so we'll be using this and a bread knife. This bread knife is longer than the height of the frame. So let's get this set up. Alright, so I just ran a piece of scrap wood, this is pine, through the table saw. Made some ridges here to go over and kind of snap on to the edge of my cane bro so that we can collect the cappings as we cut them off. I like to work lean so I can work clean. That means no extra fancy tools than necessary. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have nice tools. I consider tools to be an investment, like these knives, like my knives. Alright, so this one goes into the extractor. This is number 2. Alright, just a couple, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more to go. And we can do some on the sides here, but I'm not going to worry about that today. That is a small hive beetle. They can cause what are called deadouts in a hive, and they can wreak havoc on a beehive if they're left unchecked. There are different ways to handle them. One of the videos I uploaded into my beekeeping diary addressed that, although some people said it was illegal because it's against what the labeling says. But you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I don't recommend doing what I do. I'm just showing you how I do it. Ask 10 beekeepers how to do something, you'll get 15, maybe 25 different answers. Of course, you're not gonna throw away any of this down here. We're gonna use this for rendering, although the rendering process is gonna keep it from being considered raw honey. Because we have to heat it. So I've decided I'm going to extract honey in different batches, because this is a much darker honey and I'm afraid it might have Brazilian pepper in it, and that's a spicier, what they call baker's grade honey, and that honey is it's good for cooking with, but it's not good for, I don't think it's very tasty raw. It's a lower grade of honey as far as the flavor is concerned. But there's nothing wrong with it. I'm doing my best again to work very clean here. You can see the darkness to that honey. It's not that bad. It's not Brazilian pepper. Brazilian pepper, heavy Brazilian pepper honey, it's going to have a yellow capping to it because that's the color of the pollen and the nectar mixed together. Here's honey from one super, and here's honey from another. The same hive, but the difference between the two is that one nectar source bloomed at a different time than the other. This golden one, I couldn't tell you what the difference between the two is as far as the nectar source, but the color here is definitely enough to make me want to keep it separate in the extraction process. The heat gun method did not work, so we're just going to lightly scrape it with a fork here. We'll leave the comb intact. It will slightly damage the comb, but that's okay. So long as there's a base through which the bees can continue to utilize this already drawn out wax. All their hard work, I'm going to do my best to take care of it. Here goes. So this works by centrifugal force. To start off slow, and we are extracting radially because the honey will be slung out this way, centripugally, and it's going to come out of both sides at the same time. The smell that comes off of this thing is just unbelievably good. There is absolutely no way to describe the smell of fresh honeycomb with fresh honey. I mean, of course there's floral would describe it as well, but it doesn't do it justice. It's like taking a picture of the Grand Canyon and seeing it for yourself. Empty honeycomb with comb left behind. There's a little bit of honey left, and that's okay. I'm not concerned with it. Well, folks, that's how you get honey. That's the easy way to do it. If you really think about what honey is, it's liquid sunlight. The sun rains down on the earth, and through the miracle of God's design, plants create photosynthesis through the mitochondria. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell! And produce sugar within the plant. It's just quite amazing, honestly. The plant will produce flowers, and the flowers will produce nectar, and the honeybees will collect that nectar. They will bring it back into their colony, and then they will fan it in their wings down to 18% moisture. Now, when you saw me uncapping the honey, you noticed that it was all capped over. I wanted to leave behind any uncapped honey, or what would, I guess technically would be nectar, because to harvest or extract anything over 18% would cause your collection vessel to ferment. It is much more efficient to extract honey with an extractor, as you saw in this video, because crush and strain is
very destructive to all the hard work that the honeybees had to go through with the creation of their colony. It takes about 6 pounds of sugar, corn syrup, or honey to make 1 pound of wax. And they have to make the wax before they can put the honey in it. So it really slows them down in the next season if you just use crush and strain method. Here you can see me crushing and straining some honey, and it is effective. It does work, but it isn't efficient. So overall, we got about 75 pounds of honey here, and about $10 per pound. I'd say that's a pretty good amount of assets that my girls here have left me with. I took a cut of their efforts in exchange. I give them my protection. It's hard work pimping. Anyways, I was very pleased with my Maxant honey extractor. They were very pleasant to work with. They helped me fix my problem that wasn't my fault. When I received my order, the handle was crushed in, as you saw in my unboxing video. And overall, the extractor was very, very well built. Very well balanced, very good at getting a lot of honey in a short amount of time, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to rent it out because with the upfront cost, I want to make my money back a little bit quicker. If you decide to go with a well-built extractor and you're not part of a honey club or a honey beekeepers club, then I would suggest getting involved in one of those so that you can have people to easily rent to. Place yourself in a position to which you'll be most successful at finding people to sell to. Now, as clean as I tried to work, it does get a little bit messy. I just want to remind you that crush and strain is the most messy of all the processes, so this is a extreme improvement on that type of extraction. As you saw earlier in the video, the heat gun method did not work very well. But I want to talk about cleanup because of how messy this was. I mean, it's really super easy. If you get up and extract in the morning and you're done by noon and you put all of your equipment out in the honeybee yard or in a neutral location, you're going to find that the honeybees will find it within a matter of minutes. One bee will find it, they'll race back to the colony, they'll tell the other bees, and then they'll come back to the location from which the first honeybee told them there was a food source, and then before long you're going to have something that looks like this. It's absolutely crazy to see how many bees in such a short amount of time will jump on free food. Now, once they've cleaned up all of the honey off of all of your equipment, I like to give everything just a hose off and then let it sit out in the sun to dry off a little bit, or use a towel depending on what you want to do. I wouldn't leave this overnight. It may attract pests. Honey, a note on bears. Bears are not attracted to honey. I know that I comedically used Winnie the Pooh to illustrate a love for honey, but what bears are after this part of the honeybee colony. They're not interested in the honey, they're interested in the protein-rich larvae and eggs that are in the capped brood that are in the bee colony. At any rate, this is just some of my mead. Some of the many things that you can make out of the apiary. I don't normally drink, but when I do, it's socially. Speaking of social, check out my social media at Chef Nicholas J and at the Bee Pimp on the Instagram, and I will catch you over there. If you want to see more of this observation hive, or what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be cloning this observation hive as this is on loan to me. I will let y'all see some of the activities of honeybees in a more undisturbed environment, as I disturb them pretty heavily when I do get into the organism itself out in the apiary. So I'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and have a good one. God bless.